So have you ever heard riches is in the niches or niches? I can tell you that this is true, especially when it comes to YouTube, but you have to approach it differently. You actually need to understand exactly what the niche is and how narrow or wide it is. And I'm really excited for this live stream today because I'm talking to someone that I really, really admire, someone that is a go-getter, but also found a niche that kind of blew my mind. Like at the end of the day, my mind has been blown by this niche, and to be able to see how he was able to capitalize on this niche, but also get millions and millions and millions of views that I didn't even know existed on YouTube. And he was able to do it in a way that was able to not only benefit his own personal life, his family life, but actually create a business, a sustainable business off of YouTube in a way that I'm really excited to share with you. So for me, if you're new to me, my name is Daryl Eves. I love YouTube, been on YouTube for almost 20 years in October. And I love growing on YouTube, helping content creators, brands, and businesses. And I've generated over 110 billion video views. It's kind of really shocking to see over the course of my career to be able to do that. And I've worked with some of the biggest brands and businesses on the planet. And what I usually do on these live streams is I bring someone in that is crushing it, is someone that you can learn from, or my goal is for you to kind of connect the dots of where you're at, of where you need to go. And I love it through conversations, and I love helping people. And for me, this is a way for me to give back to you, so that you can connect and you can learn, you can be able to digest from people that normally don't have a platform to teach. So I'm grateful that you're on the live stream with us here now. And then ultimately, I'm also going to give away some tickets to VidSummit. It's a conference that I put on every year. It's our 12th year, where people all around the world come to Texas and learn all about the creator economy, and then to be able to synergize. So you want to stick around for that. Also, we're going to take some Q&A from some of you. So if you have this question you're just dying to ask, at the end of this live stream, we're going to be able to open it up. So really excited. So riches is in the niches. Okay. I've heard that phrase so many different times, but it's true. I actually have a degree in marketing and advertising. And for me, it's really understanding who you're communicating with, and then also what value they actually are looking for. And that's why I love YouTube so much, is because YouTube can help us find the viewer and give them that right video that they're looking for. And it is able to take all this unstructured data and structure it in a way to predict what the viewer wants to watch. And for me, I've seen every niche that you could possibly have on YouTube. And when I saw this one creator come on, he kind of came into my radar, and I'm like, okay, this is a very interesting niche. And I was questioning how many views, how big was the audience? And I was blown away because he was getting millions and millions and millions of views around one thing: motor oil. Okay. Like I was blown away. I'm like, how can motor oil get millions and millions of views? And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to have the motor oil geek come on and literally start to share a strategy with you today. So how are you doing, Lake?
I'm doing great, Daryl. I appreciate the Texaco Haviland there. I like that. My dad was actually sponsored by them at one point in time. Yes, that's good. I don't even know that or not, but that's one of the oil brands
that on Amazon after a recommendation of yours. So there you go. But anyway, So why don't you kind of introduce yourself and let people know the type of content you create?
Sure. I'm Lake Speed Jr. And for some people that happen to have been NASCAR fans, maybe back in the 80s and 90s, my dad is Lake Speed Sr., the former NASCAR driver. So I kind of grew up in racing my whole life. And then, like you mentioned, Daryl, I ended up going to work for Joe Gibbs Racing, and we started an oil company. So I've been involved in the oil industry now for 20 years. It's kind of like you've been with YouTube for 20 years. I've been in the oil industry for 20 years. And about 5 years or so ago, I left and went to a adjacent industry because my real love is tribology. So tribology is the study of friction where
I didn't
in
even know that it was
lubricants,
a like. I thought you were making up words. Tribology. I'm like, what is a tribologist? like I don't even know what these things are. I'm like, are you inventing words here now, Lake? But what? Let everybody know what a
well, some
tribologist
people
is.
some people might think it's a made up science, but it's actually kind of a blend of physics, chemistry, and mechanical engineering. The term tribology was actually coined by Dr. Peter Yost over in the UK. They realized that all pieces of equipment, they're lubricated. There's friction, and friction's a loss of energy and power. And of course, power is it's a resource, and it costs money, and it has to produce it. So if you can save energy, if you can reduce friction, if you can reduce wear, well, that's a good thing. So the British government a long time ago said, hey, we need to figure out how to make our industry more efficient, because if we're more efficient, then we'll win.
Love it.
So that's the science. And Daryl, there's so many parallels between what I've done professionally before I joined Channel Jumpstart and started doing YouTube stuff. That the Channel Jumpstart method, plan, execute, analyze, adjust. That's exactly what we do with a race car. When you go to a racetrack, you plan out what you're going to do. You go out there and you run your laps and you measure what you did. Then you come back and you make adjustments based on the data. That's been my whole life, is that same pattern. And, funny enough, this whole idea of going on YouTube and talking about what I know, this was not my idea. It was actually my wife's idea.
Oh, do tell
And
this one.
so my wife, Elise, also known for people that watch our channel, because you know what? It's funny. There's been this weird intersection, Daryl, between my wife's channel and my channel, because a lot of my viewers are men, right? Older men, their wives and their daughters watch my wife's channel. Because my wife, Elise Rose Crochet, has over 300,000 subscribers and has been on YouTube longer than I have. She's the one that, one, handed me your book and said, you should read this. And number two, she convinced me to go to VidSummit, which I heard you mention that earlier about VidSummit. Yeah, if you win a ticket, you should definitely go. If you don't win a ticket, you should definitely go. VidSummit will change your life as a creator. And it was at VidSummit that I kind of had this awakening of, wait, I've been doing this all wrong, that I needed to double down and focus on what I could be unique at. What was I'd been on YouTube doing some stuff, man, I made
Right.
some videos. But once I had that awakening, is that what is unique? What can I uniquely talk about? Motor oil. And that's where the idea was, to focus on being the motor oil geek. And literally, once I made that pivot and focused and started creating content for the viewer, not for myself, not to try to push anything, but to help the viewer to answer the questions that people are asking, it just blew up. It was crazy.
Well, I want to talk about this, because like when I met you, it wasn't you're going to promote the motor oil geek. In fact, you're
No.
making a decision, because you're like, hey, I'm buying this, or I'm going into your mentoring program, and I have two options, and you were trying to weigh out which direction to go, because I will not allow anyone to do two channels at once, because it's just like way too intensive. There's too much work, and if you dilute the energy that you need to put on it, you're going to probably miss the opportunity that's in front of you. And so, you want to talk about that a little bit, because I think that was a really big moment for you. I think the first moment was listening to your wife. That's always a good thing. I'm telling you, that's always a good thing, especially how smart your wife is.
Yep,
Great. The second thing was that you took the opportunity, you went together to VidSummit, and it started to connect the dots. But ultimately, it was, I think, this next decision, which is, what do I do when I'm learning the system of what you teach, Daryl? So would you mind just taking a second there?
Sure. Because what really led me in to doing this wasn't to do my own channel. That wasn't my initial thought. I've been on YouTube making videos for my employer. I worked for Total Seal Piston Rings. I mentioned before. I worked for Joe Gibbs. We had our own oil company. I did that for 15 years, and then I left and I went to work for one of our we'll call it affiliate companies. Somebody we work really closely with. They were actually one of our customers, Total Seal Piston Rings, and so I was doing marketing for them. We were making videos and we were doing all this dyno testing and stuff that I love. It's really super cool.
Right.
And we had seen some traction with our audience, professional engine builders, by doing that. We recognized that, okay, that's a pretty small group. There's probably a larger group out there we could reach. So that's why we decided to join the mentorship program. Was we need to get better at making videos so that we can reach a larger audience for our customers. Now, the thing that, I don't know if I've even mentioned this before, but the reason I started my own channel was because, Total Seal had been in business at that point for 67 years.
Wow.
We were doing stuff for Formula One, we were doing NASCAR and, vintage cars, and we all over the world. So as a marketing person, it was really hard to tell what was moving the needle. I mean, yeah, you got this feedback from some customers, but those customers you've also known for a long time. So it's kind of like, showing the video to your mom, right? It's like, yeah, they're going to say it's good because they're your buddies and you've known them for 20 years. They're not going to tell it's crap. So you have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. So my idea was, I've got this oil analysis business that I've been kind of doing on the side for several years. If it does anything, if I move the needle at all with that, I know 100% where it came from. So it was my R&D. It was on my little lab project to see.
I had no idea. I had no idea because I just thought it was, hey, I only have so much time in the day, and I don't want to risk the other one. But it was like, no, I want to know. I want to know where, if it's going to work. I want to be able to track it. Right. I had no idea.
That's what it was. I wanted visibility. I wanted to be able to know if we put in X kind of resource, we're going to get something back.
Nerd. That's why I love you, because you love to analyze everything. And you're like, literally, I think we're kindred spirits, because I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, that's the reason why, that then equates to that. Right. So you made a choice and you decided to go on your own personal channel for this. And I want to talk about this because I think that was kind of a bold move, but now I understand why you did it. Because it's like, oh, it makes more sense to do it over here, because if it's trackable, then I can put the energy and time over on this other channel, right? That was kind of,
and that was my hesitation, right? Because when I first talked to you, I was like, well, we signed up for this for Total Seal because that's what the thing was.
Yep.
And you're like, you can't do both.
Yep.
You got to pick one of the two. And really what you're seeing from the data, now I can look back now, you were seeing is there's, well, I call it lightning in the bottle, but there was more of a response to the oil content than piston ring content. And I actually kind of knew that instinctually, because I could look at all of our videos and know that whenever I did a video, even on the Total Seal channel, that involved motor oil, it did better than the ones they were just about piston rings.
Right.
So like dyno testing and motor oil, those are the two topics that would perform above average.
Well, dyno testing is just cool in general. Like that's one of the coolest things ever in the history of all mankind. Like if there's ever,
absolutely,
it's just like, it is great. Right. But you're talking about this massive, engine going, you can hear the exhaust, you can smell the exhaust, all this other stuff. To this is like the most boring thing in all of mankind when you really break that down. And so like, for me, I was like, wait, is that really the case? But you knew this audience, like you grew up around it, and you knew how important good performance, like really understanding good performance. And it's really around what you put in your car, right? What you put in the engine. And then two, your analytical mind of like, well, if we're going to be a performance-based company and we're racing, right? This is kind of, I think, ingested in you by just being surrounded by your dad and the team and all that other stuff. It's like, we need the very best. It's worth it to find out what the very best is, to test it, because we cannot have failure. Failure means loss, right? And so I love that. And so would you just share why I tell my students only to focus in on one channel and not to do two, because I think it's twofold. But would you, from your perspective, I love why you couldn't just do both at the same time.
Well, two channels is two different audiences, and you really need to learn and understand your audience. You have to get very well acquainted to the patterns, all those. There's so many, I don't want to call them intrinsic details, but maybe that's a way of saying it, within an audience, within a niche, that you have to basically be fully committed to that to really understand it. And I don't know if you just, I don't know, but what it was, but choosing the oil channel versus the piston ring channel was actually more intuitive for me, actually.
And the reason why I have people do one is because there's just too much to consider. And I need extreme focus. Like once you get it, then you can do it. You can do 10 channels at once. Cause like once you understand how I see YouTube and what I want you to see on YouTube, once you get it, then you're going to see it regardless. Like I was getting up early. I jumped in my pool. It's really cold. Did a little cold plunge, then went into the hot tub for a little while, and I was kicking, watching YouTube. And that's when I saw Nick Nimmons' live stream video, and I'm like, oh, like live stream. So I'm watching from the hot tub, the live stream. But the reality is this, and this is what I love, is there's so much about YouTube that a lot of people don't consider. And once you start to see it, I'm instinctually, whenever I watch a video on YouTube, I'm already pre-programmed. Oh, this is good, this is bad, whatever. And my tolerance level is really, really teeny, right? And so for me, watching YouTube isn't necessarily entertainment, it's work. But when I do know what good content is, it's good content. Like you just know instinctually because of set patterns that you're able to see. And that's why I say, hey, once you come in, you need to be laser focused to understand so you can see the patterns. And then two, if you're bringing other factors in, which is multiple audiences or multiple things that you're trying to do, then you're not going to see clearly what the patterns are.
Right. I'll say one thing that's kind of, you were just talking about that kind of came to my mind, is that creating that good content. I mean, you talk about it in the book, the problem is the content, right? It's like, okay, you got to make better content. One of the most powerful things that I took away from that first VidSummit that I attended was a talk Roberto Blake gave. And he said, YouTube is not too crowded. There aren't too many people, even in your niche. Whoever's watching right now, in your niche that you're thinking about, it's not too crowded. Here's why. Because what most content on YouTube is low quality, low effort.
Yep.
When you really push yourself to make high quality, high effort content, you will instantly stand out. And really that goes back to when you made me make a choice between piston rings and motor oil. It was a tremendous blessing to focus on motor oil, because it was going to be easier for me to make high value, high effort content for oil than it is piston rings, because dyno testing is really, really hard to do. It's not like you can just go turn around and do one of these things all the time unless you have your own dyno. And of course, we didn't have our own dyno. So for us, it was better to learn. It's, cat's out of the bag here, it's already left, but we did turn around and apply everything that I learned in Channel Jumpstart that helped make the Motor Oil Geek channel successful. We applied that to Total Seal as well, and it made Total Seal more successful.
Yep.
It's just that the total audience for motor oil is much bigger than piston rings. Even though pretty much everywhere there's motor oil, there's piston rings, the reality is no one's changing their piston rings.
Yeah.
But everyone has to have their oil changed. So actually have a much larger audience than you would think at first. And I guess that we're trying to do a good job of making something that's pretty boring otherwise. Actually, there's a really cool science behind it, but no one knew that until we showed up and started telling them how cool it was.
Do you know what's funny is I own a lot of YouTube channels, and I've partnered with a lot of creators where I'm their business partner, and we go through it. So one of the channels out there is Matt's Off-Road Recovery. And I was having a conversation, and I'm like, dude, like, there's this guy that has come on to Channel Jumpstart, and he all he does is talk about motor oil. And he goes, "Is it the Motor Oil Geek?" Like, you know that channel? He goes, "Yeah, I've been watching all his stuff." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "Yeah, because your videos are not short either. Like, some of them are 20, 30 minutes long." And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, I geek out about it all the time." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." It was so cool, but it was like, okay, I'm starting to understand the audience, and like I kind of play it up. Like I know there's an audience for everything. I really do. But once I understood why they're getting into detail, and then two, when you post a video, every one of the viewers are opinionated. Like they're the most opinionated audience in the history of all mankind. And you literally basically say, you might have this opinion because it was taught to you by this, but here's the data. The data doesn't lie. And you like literally start going into it. Like, how are you supposed to debate that? You know, like who goes that deep into the analysis? Like, you're pulling out charts and doing all this other stuff. And it was like, wow, that's really cool. Where, yeah, they are opinionated, but their opinions start to deflate a little bit because you show exactly side by side through the data on it. And so would you talk about just a little bit the importance of understanding the audience and the importance of picking the right type of video for your audience?
Yeah, I think that's everything, is that when you make that switch, and again, we've talked about this all the time in Channel Jumpstart, is that it's about the audience. The video needs to be for the audience. Well, if you don't know who that audience member is, like if you've not created that avatar in your head of who that person is, whether they're your core fan, kind of a casual fan, or there's someone just new coming along, if you haven't really thought about who they are, if you don't understand who they are, you're going to have a hard time making a video that speaks to them, that helps them.
And would you say that most creators think that they are the audience, and they're just basically saying, if I like this, they're going to like that? Is that a good thing to do, or is it literally looking different? Maybe going a little bit deeper into the audience.
Yeah, you can't look in the mirror and make a video. You really have to look outside yourself and not make the video that's interesting to you. I mean, I'm making a lot of videos now that are not necessarily interesting to me. Like, I already know all of this stuff. But what I see is that the audience has a desperate need. That they want me. This morning, Daryl, I was looking at comments. I'm like, there's a video that I know I have to make, and I know I need to make it sooner rather than later, because everyone wants to know the answer to this question, right? I already know the answer. But
yeah, you could probably just put it in comments and be done with it. But no, it's like, no, don't do that. Let's use that as a data point and saying, hey, they do it. And now what's the best way to explain it and bring a story in and go deeper into answering that question, right?
Yes, it's all about bringing the data. It's like, oh, I can give you my opinion, right? If I can give you an answer and say, no, don't do that. Okay, that means I'm everyone else on the internet with their random opinion. That's not why you come to my channel. You come to my channel because I'm going to give you the science. It's science, not speculation. We're going to do real testing, and we're going to show you the real results so that you can make the decision for yourself. It's the whole, hey, I can just give you a fish. That's not nowhere near as valuable to teach you how to fish.
That's right.
And that's my whole goal. I want to teach you to fish, not just hand you a fish.
we're spot on. Like we're so kindred spirits when it comes to that. 'Cause that's the same thing with YouTube. Like I don't want to do it for you. Like that's too encumbering, and plus I'm bored because it's so easy for me, right? But
Yeah.
I find more value in helping you learn how to fish, and then once you get it, like how to fish is one thing, but the key that I want to do is teach you where to fish. Like
Yeah.
once you understand how to fish, that's great. And I think a lot of people will succeed, but where to fish is what I love about your story. What I love about you, because you came to my house just a couple of weeks ago, and
Yeah.
we sat down, and good laws, you figured out where to fish. Like
Yeah.
you know exactly where to fish, and you created a lure that is very appealing to a certain type of fish. So I want to kind of jump forward and talk about your oil analysis, because what you have going on here is really cool, and I think it's transformed the way that you see YouTube. And just share with them on that, because that is kind of sometimes the missing component that a lot of content creators have. Is they're really good at creating content. They know how to fish, but sometimes they don't know where to fish to actually get the bigger fish. So, do you want to take a minute?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that was one of the, I call it surprises to this whole thing. That when I shifted my focus away from, creating content that was, me looking in the mirror type stuff, and started to really focus on my audience, understand the audience, and providing value to the audience, they did something that I did not see coming. They went and found the product that I already had, started buying it. That and going back to my time at Joe Gibbs Racing, one of the tools we used to know how the engines were doing and how things were working was used oil analysis. And at one point in time, we had somebody that did a really great job for it, and then things changed and we couldn't use that resource anymore. And we really couldn't find an alternative that was as good. So one day, the head engine builder looked at me and said, Lake, you're my oil guy. You figure it out. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. And so I went and created my own company that could provide that service to Joe Gibbs Racing. And that's how it started. And for years, it went along, this small little side thing, taking care of people that I knew, right? I literally knew every single customer we had because they were somewhere within our community of engine builders and people like that, or other enthusiasts, people that I know. And it was there. Then all of a sudden, with the success of the YouTube channel, the Motor Oil Geek, people started finding it and they started buying it. So now I have people that I've never met in my life, but they've come to know me, like me, and trust me because I'm showing up on a regular basis on YouTube, giving them value. I'm answering their questions. I'm giving them data. And they're like, hey, wait, I trust this guy. I see that he's using this tool in the videos. That's one of the things that he's using to be able to tell me the truth about these things and discern from brand A and brand B or whatever it is. I want that. And while I could go buy that from anybody, because it's not like I'm the only one that makes this thing, they're choosing to buy from me because I've given them value. And
And
that's
you're not the cheapest
truly,
option either out there. There's cheaper
oh,
options. Exactly.
no.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the whole thing. I remember very vividly the call in Channel Jumpstart, and we get to really do some analysis on channels, and we got to yours, and you're like, Daryl, I'll be honest with you, I'm drowning, and I'm like, oh crap, look what's going on. I know that you have another job, and there's other things that's going on. You're like, I'm literally drowning, and I go, well, do tell. And you go, I think I need to quit. And I'm thinking, you're going to quit Channel Jumpstart. I'm like, what the heck? You're like, you got millions and millions and millions and millions of views. Like, you can't quit now. And you're like, no, I got to quit my day job because like I can't even keep up with all
Yeah.
the oil analysis. Like it is like literally, I can't sleep. Like every little moment is there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is great, right? And then you're able to quit and be able to focus in even more so because it freed up time that you're able to do the analysis, but also do the videos. But you found a way to monetize because you already had it set up. You already did it. You thought, oh, okay, I'm able to track it. Somehow you didn't even push them to, hey, if you want an oil analysis, come here. You made videos like that. No, not at all. You actually just analyzed it. And then two, you had a link in the description. You had a link
Yep.
on your channel. That was it. You didn't really push it. You just said, I'm a geek. I'm a photologist. This is what I do. And then they're like, oh, I'm interested in mine. And they click it and they come to your website, right? Mm-hmm. Like and I'm going to pull this up. So here's the channel, come into the website. So I come to the website right here. Oh, order your test kit today. I come right here. I see it's $59. And I might say, oh, I need it expedited. It kicks on. Oh, $119. I go to order and there we go. It's like you had it all set up. You had everything ready to go and you started to see the volume. And then the more views you got, the more orders you got. And you got to the point where, how did that change your perspective of YouTube? How did that change your perspective in the business as a phlebotomist? Like, how did that change your perspective in the industry? Like, how did that change?
Well, it really went from being, oh, these videos are, they come from a marketing background, right? These videos are about communication, to now it's community. Because I'm having interactions, offline with my viewers, because my viewers
could you say that
are
one more
also my
time? I
customers.
want everyone to stop what you're doing and listen exactly what he just said. And I'm going to follow up with something. So would you say it one more time, please?
Sure. The transition was going from a video being about communication to being community. I am interacting.
I want to stop right there because he could have said it went from viewer or, the information to a customer. He never said that. Never said it. Because most business owners, people see the opportunity of, oh, I'm getting views and now I got customers. He never said that. He said about community. And so really talk about that, because that right there is literally the missing component for a lot of people on the call right now. Because they're trying to make a transaction, and transactions are cold and callous, right? But when you build a community and they want to go deeper with you in the community, and sometimes that is a way for them to get value, then it becomes personal, and they now enlist to do what community members do, which is, oh my gosh, I watched Lake Speed Jr.'s video on this oil. I actually got an analysis and I didn't know this. You got to try it out. And they actually become your social army of getting new people to be aware of your video and also your community.
Oh yeah. And these guys love it. And there is nothing more satisfying than interacting with, one of our customers, right? But they're part of this new tribology community. Like, they didn't know that tribology existed, a year and a half ago, but they started watching some of the videos. They got interested in it. They're super excited about it now. So they can't wait to get their oil analysis kit, get their results. They watch it and then they send me back questions. They're like, well, what about this? And I get answering back like this. Now, I was answering questions this morning, because a day doesn't go by that I'm not interacting with the viewer, and as we're growing this community of people that really want to see and think about tribology and recognize that it's the coolest of all the sciences out there, that they're just as passionate about it as I am. That means the world to me.
Yep.
To see that transformation.
So let's talk about this. So community building, and you're building a community about oil. You mentioned prior that when you see a comment and there's a pattern of the same comment, that, oh, that'd make a great video. Well, what stops you to comment on that? Do you comment, hey, do you want to see a video of this? Or do you just reply with the answer? Or how do you start gauging it when it's good to leave a comment versus make a video?
Okay, so my comment rule, number one rule is I'm here to teach, not to give, in terms of give you the answer, right? There are people that want me to just tell them what oil to use for their vehicle. And I'm not going to tell you what oil to use for your vehicle. At the end of the day, as an oil analyst, my job is to be independent. My job is to analyze your oil and tell you what I see based on that. I'm not here to promote, Valvoline or Shell or ExxonMobil. Now, do I have friends that work at all those companies? Yeah, they're all great companies that make great products.
And if Shell came to you and says, here's a couple $100,000 if you just promote our oil and lead everybody to it?
Bye.
Yeah,
nope, I wouldn't do it. Yeah, to me, that stuff already exists. What doesn't exist out there is someone that's an independent advocate for the consumer. That's me. I'm the educated, someone that knows all the inside stuff, but I'm here to advocate for the consumer.
Right.
The brands got to do their job.
So
my job
that's a big deal, because that's a big deal because you're an independent data scientist in that regard with, and you're going to go way in depth on that. However, every situation is different, right? You have a video that's out, $5 versus $10 synthetic oil, real engine results. You're not giving them, you're explaining what's good for what, right? You're not really saying, oh, this is like, never use this, well, maybe you might want to use it on certain types of things. I don't know. You don't know their situation, right?
Right. That's the thing, Daryl. There's too many variables to be able to tell someone, hey, what's the best oil for my 05 Silverado? I don't know. I don't know where you live. I don't know what fuel you're using. I don't know what you're using to do. There's all these I can't tell you. Now, I can tell you that if you just use what's in your owner's manual, it'll be okay. You'll be a C student if you just do what the owner's manual says. So they've already figured that out for you.
You'll get performance, but you're a C student. There we go.
Right. But if you want to be valedictorian, you're going to need to do more work. You're going to need to do oil analysis to figure out for your engine, where you live, what kind of work you do with that engine, what works best. Because there's not one size fits all best oil. Engines are different. Operating conditions are different. So my
when it
number
comes to
one
community,
rule,
when it comes to community, then I think what you just said is I am going to help the community, but I'm not going to tell the community what to do. Right? It's just more.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm independently going to just bring and benefit. But the community is going to ask, and there's certain questions I'm never going to answer because you can't give a good answer. There's too many variables for it. However, you can educate them. Oh, if you're thinking this, then that's going to bring value. And they're going to go, oh, I can actually go through this process my own. I can do the oil analysis, and then too, it's more about environmental too than anything else too. It's like the environmental, you might have some issues that you're concerned. Like if you're in negative 50-degree weather versus, where I'm at in triple digit weather, there might be different breakdowns. I don't know. That's
100% true. Yeah. If you're operating in Canada, if you're up in Winnipeg versus, Winter Park, Florida in January, you have the same vehicle doing the same kind of driving. There's going to be a difference in what happens to the oil in Winnipeg versus Winter Park, Florida. Big difference.
So how often do you start replying to comments? I think a lot of creators do it differently. Some people don't look at comments at all, but how often do you look at your comments?
I'm in the comments every day. So when I put out a video, the day it goes out, I will be more engaged in comments the first day that it comes out, that first 24 hours, than I am normally. But I'll probably spend an hour or two a day just reading through the comments because, I want to, if I can help someone, I will.
But also you realize that you have a very opinionated viewer, right? Because they're like, he's not telling me like, does that demotivate you to get defensive? Like when they're like, did you even watch the video? Like I pointed it out at this minute marker. How do you approach comments? Because I think a lot of people, at least it was true for me when I first was trying to help someone. I'm like, I'm just trying to help you, and you call me a fat
Oh
lunatic
yeah.
or whatever it was. I'm like, dude, all I'm trying to do is help you. Like, why are you being so mean?
Right. Oh,
But how do you
oh,
approach
buddy.
comments?
Oh man, you got to have thick skin, right? It's a cross to bear in your life. You're going to be out there. It's a cross to bear, no doubt. I look at it this way. Like I said, I already knew going into this, after being in this industry for 20 years, that people were extremely opinionated,
Yep.
and you weren't going to change everyone's mind. There's no way. Like, I've got a video coming out in the future that's going to be really controversial because I'm taking on a pretty popular idea, and I'm going to dethrone it because it's just wrong scientifically. Like,
Right.
it's fundamentally wrong, but we're going to tackle it. And I know it's going to be topic. It's going to be kind of touchy, and I'm handling it that way. That I'm being very. I say, hey, I know that this is kind of sacred cow that I'm about to kill, but you need to understand that it's not the real thing. It's just an idol, right? It's
Yep.
wrong. Um, but in doing that, I know that some people are going to be very thankful because they've had the truth revealed to them. Other people are going to be very defensive, and they're going to be very negative about it because I've killed their sacred cow. But I had to, right? If I couldn't be intellectually honest with my audience and not address it. Now, people have asked that question, Daryl, in the comments for over a year and a half.
Right. Right. And
And
I want to just say this because I think you're hitting community building 101, which is, one, you want to benefit the community by giving data and your perspective in a way that they can take the data for themselves and make good data driven decisions. Okay, great. I
absolutely.
love that. Right. And then two, secondarily, you're taking on topics that some people wouldn't dare to do because of the polarization of the topic, right?
Yep.
But you're going to do it because you're true to bring value to the community and educate the community in a way that if they'll watch the video and see the data, they can draw the conclusions themselves. However, there's people in the community that will just basically disagree because you killed their sacred cow, and they can't handle that, right?
Yep.
And I would say the other thing that why comments are really important, and when I celebrate trolls, is for anything to succeed, you have to have someone hate. I'll say that again. For anything to succeed, you have to have someone hate. They might be a hater because they just hate the way that you look, or they hate that you're getting a 100 views or 1,000 views or 10,000 views, 10 million views. That's just a natural thing. But the moment that you cross the board and call them out as a hater, you lose every single time. Okay. What you want to do is celebrate the interaction and let your community come back and defend you, because the moment that there's a hater, there's a lover, and the lover will always respond to the hater, and they'll create that dynamic. And I can tell you, some of the most committed communities are people that love. So I'll give you an example of a community that's polarized, but Swifties. Like there are Swifties that will go to, when she comes on, they'll spend tens of thousands of dollars to go to her concert in whatever, right? Because they just love that, right? But there's people that hate, but yet they'll defend. No, Taylor didn't mean that, right? They're all defending the community in that regard. And so the same thing with motor oil, like, hey, you might make that comment, but Lake made a video about this that you need to check out. They're doing that for you, right? However, you gotta present it in a way. One of the projects that I started 7 years ago was a TV show called The Chosen, and my business partner, he's the writer director, his name's Dallas Jenkins. When we started the campaign, there's a person that uploaded a video onto YouTube. It was like 19 minutes, 20 minutes or something around there. And they were just hating what we were doing. Call us the Antichrist or whatever. It was like that. And I called him up. I says, we arrived. And he goes, what are you talking about? I go, we got our first hater video. Like, this is like a big deal for us. Like, literally, if there's ever a time in history that we should celebrate, it's now, because someone hates us. And he goes, That's odd. I go, but the reason why it's odd is because I want you to start watching the comments, because they're bringing awareness to our project, and people are going to make the decision for themselves and realize, oh, is she really saying what's true or not? What is this going on? And then two, there'll be this natural conversation. And then two, part of our DNA for the show is to celebrate the ridiculous comments. We black out their names so that nobody can see their name, and we just show it and we respond to it. Okay. We're more playful in that way. That is our brand for it. So for me, you addressing comments and not being afraid that people are going to have opinion, but realistically, they don't have the data that you have, or they're not seeing the things that you're seeing. And it's okay to have opinion, right? And they might be aggressively coming at you, and that's okay. You're going to treat it for what it is. Someone that didn't have anything better to do with their life, try to rip you down because they can't dispute the data. And so they're going to find something else to say, right? Or ultimately, they're taking this old wives' tale of what they think motor oil is, and they didn't really take it through the process of you spent 20 plus years learning what to do, right? And so for me, I love it. I love it that you're able to do that. Then two, how do you know when you should take that idea for a video? Like when you see a comment, you're like, oh, this is really good to respond, or we should really deep dive into that.
Well, so what I've kind of done now, if we had a little more experience with it, is when you see that pattern, right? It's all about pattern recognition. When you start seeing this same thing showing up over and over again, that's a pretty strong sign. Hey, they want to see this. And then sometimes what we'll do too is just go do some research, right? Go to Reddit or whatever, start taking that comment and throw it into Google and see, are people talking about this outside of YouTube?
Yep.
And I'll tell you right now, the most successful video I have is one that I did just that. There was this comment, or was a pattern of comments on a video that were like, I can't believe that people are asking this question. Like that's really a question? I didn't even know that was a question, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not you should put oil in, like it's like a bad idea to put oil in your filter when you change your oil. I'm like, that's like dumb. Like, really? And I went and read it. The thread was insane. Been on there for years and it was still interacting. I was like, this is absolutely nuts that people, this is it. I can't believe this is a question. So we made a video about it. Like, I can't believe people are saying this is a bad idea, right? Now, is it a good idea? It's not going to hurt anything. And in some cases, it actually is a good idea. Other cases, it doesn't really matter. But to say it's a bad idea is just stupid. And so we made a video about it.
I love this example because people are bringing value. Like whenever you see a thread, so this is a thread. So you have someone make a statement or a comment, right? And they went pretty in depth. Look at this thing. Like Utah De La Cruz, right? 3 months ago, he even edited it. So he's put some time and thought into this, right? And you had 191 people give it a thumbs up, but then you have the replies, and they're like literally bringing value to each other or debating each other, which is what a community really is. So at the end of the day, even though that you thought, oh, this is below me, this is like the easiest, why would they even have this question? You're like, no, okay, maybe we need to kind of widen our understanding of where people are coming in to learn about this, and what's the best way that I can bring this education to them, the data to them, so that we can answer this question, right? And then two, you have like 12,000, was it 12,361 comments. And they're not slowing down. You're still getting people commenting today on that, right?
Yeah. Every single day. But that's the thing. It's like back to if you're going to make content for yourself or you make it for your audience, if you're just going to make it for yourself, then you're not paying attention to what they need. But if you pay attention to the comments, they're going to tell you what they're looking for. And then you can find a way to come up to provide value back. If you're really focused on providing value to your audience, you need to listen first and then respond.
Yeah, I would say, and you know this because you've been mentored by me, but it's like the best way to understand your viewer is to understand what value they got out of it, or how they perceived what you were trying to do, right? And so you can say, did it hit the mark? Did it not? I think a lot of people look at the data like, oh, my retention's not good or whatever. I like to look at that for sure, but then I'm like, okay, for the people that are actually committed to leave a comment, because there's a lot of people that will watch, will never leave a comment. They just never do. And you'll always see, oh, I watch all your videos, but I never comment, but I'm going to comment here. That's a really good sign of like, oh, there's something we need to know about this audience of what triggers them or what they brought value, right? But to know, hey, this video has abnormally high viewer to comment ratio. There's something in there that's happening. And then two, people are leaving comments and even giving more value where people are having a dialogue in between. Like, why don't we pause what we're doing for a little while and learn from this? And I mean, I only went through and I went and found 2 other videos you could make based off of this topic, because of, oh yeah, I've seen this, but I've had this question, but this other one is more in common, right? And so they were talking about oil filters together, and how two oil filters together can hold 1.5 gallons. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, right? But it's like there's all these other ideas that could lead to videos, but then two, like my favorite one is this, and I'll pull it up here because this is one of my favorite comments of all time. I'm 70 years old. Okay, they're telling you exactly how old they are.
Yeah.
I've been pre-filling filters since I was 18. So it says, dude, I've been doing this since I was 18 years old on a tip from a friend. This is the first time I've ever heard it questioned. It blows my mind that people think that new oil out of the container is contaminated. Okay. 341 replies. Okay. Right? Exactly. Great point. Do you think people also use their filter for new milk from the grocery store before drinking it? Like, come on now. I grew up on a farm. You always want to filter your milk, by the way, especially if your hand to it. Trust me, I grew up on a farm. But those are some of the most killer questions and replies. But it's like, this one has 116, thumbs up. I'm a couple years younger, 61. He's telling your age again. So it's like literally helping you understand who that viewer really is. And then two, you're probably wondering, well, why are they watching a video to a question they already understand?
That's a fair point. That's a great question. But the thing is, I think that car people in general, not just guys, cars and guys and gals, they're pretty passionate people, and they're interested in almost anything related to it. And so when they see a cool car, they see something car related, that's where their eyes go to. And if you throw something at them that makes them curious, that little bit of curiosity, right? I got to give credit, right? So my wife is who took the picture and basically art directed that thumbnail for that video. And I do believe that the success of that video is largely the thumbnail. That
there's no doubt that the more that you listen to your wife, the better your life's going to be. And this is just proof. Like, this is proof in the pudding. And it's good sometimes when you have someone that's been on YouTube for a while and understands what a good thumbnail is. Because when we come on, oh, no, this is going to perform because everyone wants to know this. Well, they're never going to see it because your thumbnail sucks, right? So you actually had a really good thumbnail out of the gate. But realistically, this is the moment where I thought, oh, wow, can you replicate this? And you did. Like, when I come to your channel and look at, just your most popular videos or even your latest videos, like they're performing really well, like realistically well, right? And so when you break it down, it's like all you're doing is community building, and you're communicating with them in a way where, like, hey, I just want to help them be able to make their own decisions. And then two, I want to be able to take on topics that the community will find interesting, but also have an opinion. Like you're about ready to drop a video that is going to kill the sacred cow for a lot of people, and there's going to be probably a really high engagement on comments because everyone's going to have an opinion on something, and you're going to take a bold stance because that's the value that you're going to bring your community. You're thinking about the community first when you take on a sponsor, when you take on uploading a video, when you're really replying to comments. Is like, oh no, I care about the community. I lived in the community. I know the people in the community. I know these brands and all that other stuff. I'm very well known in the community. And all I want to do is help educate them to see how I see the data. And the reason why data is important when it comes to performance, when it comes to oil, that's why I'm the motor oil geek, okay, great. And I think when you take that approach, that is when you're going to win 100% of the time, from me. And I want to just ask you, you don't need to give numbers. I don't think we need to give numbers, but how has your life changed having an oil analysis company and also talking about oil? And that transaction, we saw it's 59 up to 100 and, $116 or whatever it was per oil analysis. How's that transformed your life, your business, the way you're seeing things?
It's incredible. I call it my Red Sea moment, right? Like literally the Red Sea parted, and like what happened here? You've gone from a place where, yeah, I've spent my whole career and I've worked for really great people. So no one take it the wrong way. I've been very fortunate to work for somebody like Coach Gibbs, who's a phenomenal leader, great man of integrity and wonderful organization. Total Seal was great. But I've always worked for somebody else. And this enabled me and my wife that we work for ourselves. And that's a big change. And that would not have happened, without YouTube, without doing Channel Jumpstart. We would have never had that moment, that opportunity to make a decision. Do we stay in the corporate world? And there's nothing wrong with that if people want to do that. But that gave me the opportunity, a chance to do something. And
what I was blown away is just on ad revenue alone, you would have probably thought, maybe.
Right. Yeah. No, it'd been real iffy on AdSense alone.
But AdSense alone, maybe this is just something we need to do. And I think everyone will look at that, right? But the X factor was, holy cow, I'm drowning because all the demand of when I'm bringing value to this community of people that want their oil analysis. And it's not a small thing. I mean, when you came to my house and we were running numbers and we're talking about the future of this, like I don't think people realize how powerful YouTube is until you see it. And then honestly, like, you've seen it enough that you realize, oh, there's more, because you're just barely getting started. Like, right. And how are you going to keep up with it? And I think that was our conversation. How are you going to keep up with it? How are you going to streamline it, in a way that they can still get the data and the quality, but you can handle the volume? Because the more that, like, every time you drop a video, your sales spike. Yeah. It does every single time. Right. And then
when we get done here, we're building oil analysis kits and shipping kits today.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, some of these people that watch, this is what most people don't think. Oh, how many vehicles do they have? Okay. They might have 3 or 4 vehicles. Okay, great. No, your audience might be maintaining a fleet of cars, like thousands of cars. And so they're like, and so it's much bigger than what you perceive. And that's why, you're drowning in oil. I think that's what John Paul was saying. It's like, I'm drowning in oil analysis, drowning in oil. But it gave you an opportunity to build something bigger on your own, even though that you've been a part of the community in so many different ways. But then 2, it's your own unique value proposition to offer the community that there is a high demand, and so it's called a win-win from my point of view, Because like realistically, look at your AdSense. Seriously, most people would have to say, this is really good money. And I can see where it's like, hey, I can do both and I get both incomes, and the bigger that you can go, it's great. But the moment that you said, hey, Daryl, I'm drowning, I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit. And I'm like, oh, and then you decided to go all in on this other opportunity, and look at what that's done. Not only for you, for your family, but also for the future. Cause like the conversations that we had, you had probably one of the coolest ideas ever that I've heard, at least in the last, I'd say 14 months. Cause it was like very thought out, and you were thinking so far ahead and leveraging the right things, because ultimately it doesn't matter on who's sending you the traffic. It could be you, it could be someone else, it could be the community, it could be all this other stuff. You have that opportunity in the system and the process and the product, which is beautiful. So
it's you read the book, right? The first, the forward, that Jimmy wrote for the YouTube formula book, he kind of lays it out. And it's like literally, if you don't ever read anything else, just read the forward to the YouTube formula book and realize that's not hyperbole.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a literal game plan. It's just, does it take a lot of work and effort to do it? Absolutely.
And you have to be so focused too, because it's like if you're thinking, oh, I can just do it, by not focusing on it, but it's like focusing on the intent of the viewer. How are you going to bring value to the viewer? Like you got to be obsessed with that. And how, like when I say viewer, there's a community of viewers, but we look at one type of viewer. How are we going to bring value to them? But then two, the moment that we can get the viewer to share, that's game over, because that viewer just now multiplied, right? They're actually going and finding your ideal viewer for you. YouTube's seeing that transaction in the sense of, oh, new viewer coming on. I'm able to see their watch history right here. And then they're going to go out and find all the other similar type of people with a similar type of viewing history to test, oh, is this title thumbnail something they want to watch? Oh, they're clicking on it, and they're getting through the video. They're going deeper. They're getting more watch time. Then let's get it out to more people like that. And that's why you see, was it 3.4 million views on a video that you made, and it's still getting views, still getting comments, it's still getting sales every single day, which is crazy.
Well, it's cool. Is like that thing you just explained. I can think about a real world example of that here very recently. That I was contacted by a guy out in Kansas that is in charge of a fire department, and he saw one of the videos and decided that, oh, you know what, we want to do oil analysis for our vehicles here. We've never done that before. We've been doing things a certain way. Your video is making us question if we're doing it right. So they ended up, buying some kits from us, and we've done the analysis. He's got a very interesting last name. And I saw the other day that his brother placed an order too. Right. Which means
he literally did what we want to do in community building, right? You brought value. He saw the value. And in every aspect, humans always have to share.
Yep.
We have to. And we only share what we find valuable, and we only share it with the people that we love, right? And whether it's a friend, family, colleagues, it's like when there's a sense of, oh, this connected with me, they're going to like it too. Or I found value here, they're going to like it too. That is community building 101. That is if you ever want to extend your tribe in any aspect, it's like bring consistent value consistently, and people will know what to do with it. It's like, okay, I know it, I'm going to share it. And it needs to be in a way where it's inclusionary. And I think that's what you do a really good job. And I've never really said this to you, but like you've done a really good job being a part of the community, but also contributing in the community more so than just uploading videos, right? And I think that has a lot to do with your upbringing, being around racers, being around engines, being around your dad, but also where you've worked. Because when I think of oil analysis, I'm thinking, oh, there's an oil tycoon in Texas that's drilling for oil. They just want to do the analysis there. And yet, no, that's not what it is. It's more, well, why is oil important for us? Well, you already told us why that is, but you're thinking ahead where you're willing to take on topics that people aren't, because you don't have a horse in the game. It's not like you just want the best results, but you're not going to tell them what to do. You're just going to give them the results, and then they're going to internalize it and realize, oh, this is good for me. This is not good for me. Or, oh, I didn't know that. Or I might disagree with that because of my knowledge here. And they're going to put it in the comments. And you're not like, oh, you're dumb. Why are you even leaving comments? No, you're like, oh, okay. You're having your community respond. So for me, I think you've done a great job at not only cultivating the community, but making it a welcoming community where people can have opinions that's different than yours, and then ultimately, lead to more knowledge, more ways to give them information that they haven't considered. Even though that it might be simple for you because you've been doing it for 20, 30 years. But more importantly, you're finding the value of how to bring more value to the community every single day.
I appreciate that. I'm following what's in the book, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I've read the book more than one time,
and I need to give my mom a shout out. I got to give my mom a shout out. I find value in you, Daryl. Hey, Mom.
Awesome.
That's my mommy. We love my mom.
My mom called while we were talking too, by the way. I'm actually trying to convince my mom to get on YouTube. By the way,
I think my mom watches my live streams every once in a while when we kick on. It doesn't matter if I'm on The Chosen or whatever. She's always doing it. But yeah, I don't think I've ever called her out. I mean, I called her out, but not necessarily in a comment like that. So, Mom, look, you're famous, Mom. Look. Oh wait, I was like, go ahead. It's awesome. Well, okay, so let's switch gears, and I want to be able to ask a couple more questions. So, what is your process for videos? I'm looking. It looks like what's your consistency of putting out videos, and what's your process to actually create content?
So I'm trying to do 2 videos a month. I'm kind of targeting the first Saturday and the third Saturday. Ended up pushing back today's video till next week for a couple of reasons. One, to do this, I knew that if I was doing this, I wouldn't really have the focus. But I also, this week, I was traveling to make a future video, and we did a live stream at the lab where we were visiting on Thursday.
Yep.
So I didn't want to step on that live stream, and because people will still watch the recording, the live, days afterwards. So I chose to move back 1 week this time, but that schedule is twice a month, and I kind of try to target a video that's somewhere probably in that 15 to maybe 30-minute range, depending upon what the topic is and how engaged it is. Again, a lot of the stuff that I'm working on, I was taking the comments, trying to understand things, and like you said, trying to teach. So a lot of times it's a pretty long process of trying to figure out, okay, I see this commonality of this question, right? It's obvious that there's this disconnect where there's the general knowledge level and what's there. Well, what's that teaching opportunity? Where's a great analogy, a parallel where I can go do something that will reveal that? So as opposed to trying to answer that question every time in a comment, kind of make a video that broadens everyone's perspective and shows them something they didn't know. So I look around for those kind of opportunities, and fortunately, well, double fortunately, one, having the racing background and everything, I already had a lot of connections that I could leverage to do this. But now with the success of the channel, it's pretty easy for me to call someone. Like, for example, this week, I went and did a video with one of my clients that I do consulting. I do consulting work as well. And so one of the engine manufacturers that I consult with, I said, hey, we got this project we're working on. I need to come visit you anyway about this. Would you be willing to make a video about this part of your engine? And they were like, sure. Now, this is really patented stuff. They're working on military applications. So I would have expected them to say no. And Alec was like, no, come on, let's do it. We'll show it.
I love that.
And so those are the kind of process we kind of go through is trying that. And normally I'm usually working a couple of months out right now.
And do you actually do your own editing? Like, who edits your videos? Do you have a team? Like, what is that process for you?
So yeah, I film everything. I have my camera, my mics, and my tripod, and they travel with me everywhere I go. So I film everything, and then I rough cut to get the story, to get the pattern, and then I have an editor that does the rest. And he's great. He does it. He's known him for a long time. He actually works at one of the places where we do testing. He was the shipping guy when I first met him. And he's moved
and now he's the editing shipping guy or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Editing guy that also does shipping. Right. And it was one of those literally passing comments where I walked in the shop one day and he was like, hey, that video y'all just did on the history of piston rings. He said, who edited that? I said, I did. He said, oh, that was really good. I said, oh, thank you. Appreciate that. I said, I hate editing. It's my least favorite thing in the whole world. He said, really? I'm like, yeah. He said, well, I edit videos. I said, well, send me your reel, me, see what you got. And I might hire you. And he did. And he's like, dude, you're hired, man. And so
that's so great.
It's great to have a team, again, because it helps you, like I said, it helps
and then
other people.
Who does your thumbnails? Do you do your thumbnails? Do your wife?
I do my thumbnails, and my wife is my art director on them. She tells me they're terrible.
Not very good. Do it again. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That my oldest son too. He's my biggest critic, and so if I can get both of them to approve it, I know it's good. That's great.
That's great. So let's kind of dive right in. So you're building a team, but also you're a little hesitant to release, like you only do it twice a month. And it sounds to me that you're at a place where you have to focus in on the other side of the business and get it going before you really ramp up. Like, do you see yourself going weekly? Do you see yourself going more frequent? Or is this the pace that you like?
I'm comfortable right now because I do have these kind of three balls that I'm juggling, right? Obviously I have content creation, which is driving the train in terms of making everything else happen. I've got the oil analysis business that takes time. That's important. But I also have consulting that I do because I'm an engine guy. I'm the motor oil geek, right? I love motors. So I've got a couple of opportunities that I get to work on for private clients. We don't disclose who they are typically on related to their engine stuff. And I love that stuff. That's really fun. So I want to be able to keep all three of them going. If I was able to do more uploads and still manage the other two and keep them healthy, that'd be great. But right now I can juggle those three balls pretty easy with consistency, right? I know that's a big thing. You got to be consistent, not just a flash in the pan.
So I love that. Percentage of revenue. So your AdSense is really good because like anything automotive, guys, is just CPMs are just like through the roof. They just are. There's a lot of advertising dollars that come through that. What would you say the percentage of the income that you're making per month or per year is AdSense? Like, is it like 80%, 60%?
20%.
20%. So I just want everyone to know that is when you want to warm my heart. It's like when you can make 20% of your revenue in ads. Like I like to be closer to 15, but it's like if 20% of the income that you're bringing in because the opportunity YouTube is through ads, you're winning every single time because the other one can be scaled even higher, right? And so here he has the oil analysis. And would you say, are you just looking at the oil analysis as the other other percentage?
I forgot about the consulting. If you add in consulting,
because I'm like, if it's only the analysis,
it probably is 15%. Yeah. Yeah, consulting, add that to it, it probably is closer to 15% is what AdSense is.
Yeah. So here you have both opportunities. And then two, does your consulting now get to put, is there more demand so that you're able to actually ask for more money, or how
Yes.
do you approach
Yeah.
that? I mean,
Well, the biggest thing right now is back to, I'm almost at that same point with the consulting thing that I was, overall last year. I'm like, hey, Daryl, I'm drowning. I
yeah,
have more people contacting me about doing consulting projects than I have bandwidth to take on.
yeah,
I had to tell
yeah,
someone this week. I'm like, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying not right now. It's like, let's
right.
talk about in maybe a year from now or 6 months from now, and maybe I'll have some bandwidth. But I can't take on what you want me to do right now.
Yeah, no, that's so good. That's so good. So I'm going to just say this. I'm going to just say this. Okay. There's another time that you're like, oh, I didn't know this whole thing. So people are now contacting you to be the keynote speaker. So they're paying you money to go speak at a conference. like,
Yeah.
like, like, did you ever think that you would be the keynote of conferences? And then also the demand of your consulting. I mean, it makes sense if you're 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 going in this and you're creating awareness. They're like, oh, he knows his stuff. He's going through the process. You have your oil analysis, but they want you to take on projects now. But did you ever think that you would actually be the keynote speaker at some of these events?
No, no. And I've been to all these events, and I'm like, you're watching someone talk, and you're like, oh, that's a nice talk stuff. Like maybe one day I might ever get to do that. And then, like next thing you know, like, no, yeah, I'm the guy. They want me to come do that, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. I
Yeah.
can do it.
Well, would you speak at VidSummit then?
I guess so. Yeah, I just put myself out there, right? I've roped myself into a yes again.
I had to set that up, man, because it's like you're telling me,
You
man,
lured me right in there, man.
who wants to see him speak at VidSummit? Put it in the comments, because honestly,
That'll be the vote right there, right? If they
the,
all say yes, I guess I have to.
yeah, yeah. If you say no, I'll just ask your wife to tell you to go do it, because she's like, yes. but but seriously, like, if there's ever a case study that needs to be on stage at VidSummit, it's yours, because it will prove to people that, hey, if 15% of your revenue is ad spend and all the other stuff, like, you can build it. But then two, you're not actively pushing it. Like, you're not. It's more about community building, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so come on now, come on. Like, that is like the most epic case study. But then two, you're drowning in all the demand. Like we sat in my house and you were going through, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you got to get it to this point. And then two, if you're able to kind of disclose, hey, you got to create processes and systems and opportunities, but then also partnership, because like that's kind of your key
Yes.
thing, of getting the right people there to help you build your empire. You're like, you are building a motor oil data analysis empire, from my point of view. And then two, you're becoming that guy, which is the motor oil geek. Like, people are in high demand, or they're asking you in high demand to come have a presence because they know, love, and trust you, and you're a part of bringing value to a community. So I would love it, as the founder of VidSummit, if you could benefit our community at VidSummit and share your case study. Because, like, these interviews, we can only do so much. I know I know that you're going to blow their mind when you're able to show data and get very
Yeah.
specific on saying, hey, this worked for me, it can work for you too. And then two, what you said at the earlier of this interview was, the VidSummit was the game changer. You
Oh,
saw it, and
absolutely.
now I want you to, since you received that game changer moment, I want
Give
you
it
to
back.
give that game changer moment for somebody else. So
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
I love it, love it. What, like, if you were starting today and approaching YouTube, what would you do differently? How would you like navigate it? What's important to you?
Wow. The biggest thing were the things I didn't know, right? I didn't know that the business part was going to take off. I didn't know that the consulting part was going to take off, and those kind of things. So I guess if I was doing it, if I well, I would wish I knew then what I know now. I would have started working on making those things more scalable earlier. And I think also it's important to learn to say no to the things that are not aligned with your core value, your core mission. I think it's pretty easy just to say yes to everything that comes along, because if nothing's ever come along before, it's easy to just say yes to everything. But every time you say yes to something, you're taking away time and energy from something else.
Right.
And what's around the corner may be a lot better. Uh, and you just need to kind of, and then I haven't got this figured out yet by any means on what that right blend is for evaluating opportunities. But I do know that it's really easy to say yes to everything. And when you spread yourself too thin, you're not valuable to anybody.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the conversation we had in my house, was just that. It's like, how do you do more with less, right?
Right.
And one thing that we all value the most is our time, you know. And right now, I know as soon as you coming on and sharing this value with people is really important. Like I know that you could be fulfilling fulfilling orders for your oil analysis, analyzing the oil that's coming in, you know, giving the feedback of what people are paid you, but you paused it for a second to come bring value to the viewers here today. And I'm glad that you didn't say no. I'm just glad because, you know, if all we do is inspire people to approach it more intentionally, because I think that's what you've done. You're like intentionally taking and uploading videos that would benefit the community. And you're willing to put your reputation on the line because you have the data. That's great. That's great. And so really
And I would,
grateful that you said yes. So
oh, happy to do it. And the reason I, back to say, I've received so much, I have to give back.
that's
I
right.
can't just keep it for myself. I want my life to be a conduit of, grace flowing through me to others, and not just being a cup where I'm just trying to capture all that I can. I want to be able to give back wherever is possible. And I would hope that someone watching, if they're wherever they are in their journey, could see that they're probably their best source for growth and the path they want to go is kind of within their own experience. Right?
Yep.
That the gold mine of value is your lived and shared experiences. And by taking down that barrier, and it's hard, right? I mean, I kind of mentioned my mom earlier. Um, my mom has incredible value. She's been a property manager for like 40 years. She's
Wow.
like she's the, I want to say right now, right? She's my mom, but my mom is the best property manager, residential property manager in the Nashville area. And there may be another somebody like her somewhere else, but she builds community, right? That's probably again one of the things where it kind of comes from is my mom is great at not having a property where people just pay rent and live. She builds community, which is why her properties are always sold out. They're book solid and people take care of things and they're not dirty and that kind of stuff because people care because they're living in a community. It's not just transactional. And I'm trying to convince her that, listen, you know things about this industry that are very valuable to people, that they need to know how to understand these things. And there's a
Mm,
lot of value, but she's too afraid to put herself out there yet.
right. Right.
And so there's a big step I think someone can take to do this. But the reality is, where's her value to that community? It's within. It's her experience. And I hope someone's watching, they realize that you don't have to go find that place, that well, to bring value to a community where you share a passion and an experience with. It's in your own experience where you can find it.
I love it. I love it. And I think that's the experience and the willingness to put yourself out there is a big deal. So we're going to be giving away a couple tickets to VidSummit so you can actually hear Lake's presentation. I can't wait for that. And we'll be doing it here in a second. But Would you be willing to do some questions? Would you do
Absolutely.
some?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Do it.
So what we're going to do is just do a little push for VidSummit. So if you haven't heard of VidSummit, VidSummit is a conference I put on. This is the 12th year. And the whole reason why we did it is I wanted to create an opportunity for like-minded people to come together, and where creators can help other creators learn the insights, learn the details, learn the business side, learn all this opportunity of what the creator economy is all about. And what I love in starting it was I saw a lot of my friends that were really talented creators and they're artists, but they didn't understand the business side, or they didn't have someone that was looking out for their best interests on the business side. And so I thought, would there be a place to create this opportunity? And honestly, that's where I looked out there, and there was always the creators and fan experience, but there was no creators. Just, hey, this is just all about creators. We're not fans. We're colleagues. Is there a place for that? So I'm not seeing that. I decided to start for it, but I'll be honest with you, Lake, the reason why I did it is I would love to learn, and I wanted to be able to have a platform for people that I wanted to learn from and give them that platform. So when I put someone on stage like you, I want to learn from them. There's something about them that I want to internalize so it make me better. And so the whole reason why I started VidSummit was I wanted to learn from people and then give them a platform to teach me. And that's what we're doing here. So if you're interested in VidSummit, go to vidsummit.com. It's October 7th through the 9th. And if you're not familiar with what that is, I'm going to just show you a quick video, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do some questions and some giveaways. So let me go ahead and show you all what VidSummit is and how amazing you want to, how amazing it is, and the community and the culture, and why you should consider coming October 7th through the 9th. There we go. I couldn't get out of that. So look, I get excited for VidSummit every year. It's our 12th year. What I love is the culture in the community and the willingness of people to come. You never know who you're going to sit by. You never know what you're going to receive. You never know what's up. But I can tell you, we intentionally put the right people on the stage that you need to learn something of what's going on now, and they're willing to open up and share. So really grateful that you're able to come on, Lake, and be a presenter at VidSummit, and then also show the business side where you can come in and maybe only 15% of your income's coming from AdSense. The rest is when you build out a process and a system, which I love. So go ahead, head over to vidsummit.com, get your tickets. Believe it or not, we sell out every year. It's getting faster every year. We actually sold out of 2 hotels already. So it's like, go there,
Really?
get your, like it's March.
Wow.
We're already sold out of 2 hotels, but we had the best VidSummit of all time last year. And a lot of people that went last year already bought their tickets. And so they already went and locked in. It looks like probably next week, we're going to sell out our 3rd hotel. Trust me, now is the time to get it. We are going to give some tickets away after the Q&A, but honestly, don't wait. Seriously, this is something you need to be a part of. Really, really excited. So,
I mean, it changed my life. I mean, there's 3 transformative things in my YouTube journey. One was reading your book, The YouTube Formula. Second was going to VidSummit, and then third was 20 General Jumpstart. I mean, VidSummit was huge in that process. I mean, that is where I had the idea of changing the name to the Motor World Geek.
Yeah.
It was pivotal. And so I couldn't tell anybody if you're serious about this, it is worth making the journey to VidSummit. You won't regret it. You won't regret it.
Well, I'm excited. So let's dive right in. So if you have a question, go ahead and leave Q in the comments so we know exactly you have a question. Put your question in there as well. I had a few people kind of, I've been kind of pulling them in as questions come in very specifically, and we'll kind of drop that in. But let me pull in here. And this is one that I want to tackle because I get this question a lot. So when I give you answers to this, please really hear for what I say. But is it smart to promote via YouTube ads? And I would say there's not a world in the history of worlds that I'd ever run ads to grow my YouTube audience. There's not. And trust me, I look for every way to grow audiences. And the moment that you tell YouTube ads who your viewer is, you're literally shooting yourself in the foot of letting YouTube discover who your audience is, because it's never the same thing. It just never is.
Yep.
So there's not a world that I would actually do that at all. And so definitely, let me pull this one. Driving with Miles. He's put a lot of great questions in here. Here's one. What would you suggest first? A book, VidSummit, or his training?
Oh, well, I mean, I think everyone needs to read the book, right? If you've not read the book, that's like 101. You need to read the book. And Miles, the great thing is...
Yeah, go ahead.
There's plenty of time between now and October to read the book before you go. You need to do both.
Yeah. Miles, just put in there that you want the book. Chantel will take your information. We'll send you a book. You'll have to pay for shipping, but we'll send you a book. Come on now. Come on. We'll make it really easy for you. And then 2, if you don't want to read it and you want to do Audible, it's on Audible, but I'm not buying your credits for that.
That's how I did it. If I start reading, I fall asleep. I can read maybe 5-10 pages and then I'm out. So I Audible everything.
Love it. Okay, so Maddie's saying, I'm trying to bring more value to my videos, oil painting vids, but the vids aren't performing that well. I'm a new channel, so should I stick to the same content till I have more data? So what would you give Maddie? What advice would you give her?
Yeah, I would definitely go spend that time looking at the videos you've already created. Go look at the comments from those videos. Look at the analytics and really try to understand, what's going on. Then also go look around. Say, if you're doing oil painting, go see, all right, who's being successful on YouTube doing oil painting. What are they doing? What pattern and model what you're doing after what works? That's the best way to start. And you can go from there and you may iterate and find your own little flair based on that, but you need to see what's actually working within your niche. And especially if what you're doing right now isn't working, then you need to look and see what else is going on and adapt and try something different.
Yeah. And don't view is your channel not, or your videos not working because they're not getting a lot of views. Don't view that. What we want to do is look at, is it easy to want to click the video? And what's the value when someone comes to watch the video? Now, I want you to understand this, that the value proposition might not be what you think that it is. You might think, oh, I'm teaching them how to oil paint. And I'm saying, no, that's not necessarily the case. Maybe there's a small select few people that watch your video to learn how to do a specific technique, but maybe it's more therapeutic. So one of the best creators of all time in the history of the world is Bob Ross. Bob
Yeah.
Ross would start with a blank canvas, and in 20 minutes, he would actually have a finished product. And there's so many people that watched it for therapy. They would come on, and he just had happy little accidents the whole time. And he had all these just amazing content. So I'm here to tell you, go on Netflix, binge watch Bob Ross. You probably might have already done that. Go on Twitch. Like, he is one of the biggest. When they do the Bob Ross series, is like the most watched ever, and it's more therapy, but people will lean in. So like my sister-in-law, Shannon, she watched Bob Ross's videos and loved it. She goes, I want to try. I want to learn how to paint. And so she bought Bob Ross's products. He made billions of dollars selling products. Think about that for a second, on public television. So now with the accessibility of YouTube, hey, that's great. But don't always look at, hey, they're coming for this, but you might inspire them to go create, right? And that's what he was trying to do, is inspire them to go create. But he made the same dang video every time, over and over and over again. But it was just that much different. But it was always landscape, and he always had the little puffy little clouds, and he would always put the little, trees in there. So like for me, hey, Maddie, really look at that. And then what I would do more than anything else is ask, what is the value proposition you're going to bring? Okay. Is it going to cheer up their day? Is it going to go into it? For me, maybe it's even around another genre too. So like, hey, I love oil painting, but I want to oil paint anime. Okay, great. Maybe that's the whole vein.
Yeah.
I don't know. Man, you'd like hit this pop culture thing that might bring in another audience. They would just love to see what you're creating. Starts with a blank page. You never know what you're going to get out of it. So love that. Love that. Okay. Radiology, true crimes, radiology. Okay, so you have a radiologist here. Page is struggling over low views and low retention. So how would you like approach that? Radiology, true crime.
Wow. See that I'm already fascinated. I'm like, I want to watch, like, because I would think, because that kind of that CSI kind of approach. I mean, so one of the ways I kind of model my videos is each of my videos, I kind of think as an episode of Mythbusters.
Yep.
That's kind of what's in my head, is what I'm trying to do. So I would think radiology, true crime is like, this is like CSI, and there are people that really like that detail, that forensic detail. I would think there's an audience for that,
Yeah,
that would
I would say,
really want to know, okay, maybe it's kind of like the Legal Eagle guy, right?
Yeah.
That here's what it is in TV, but here's what it really is in real life.
Yep.
And especially if the real life is actually kind of cooler, maybe a little different than what you see on TV. I mean, to me, that kind of stuff is that data, that behind the scenes is really great stuff.
So let me give some different advice. So let's just use Lake as the example. So Lake grew up. His dad was a race car driver, been in the industry forever. But if Lake would have started a channel for Formula One racing oil that works, or NASCAR racing oil, um, do you think, Lake, you would have the response that you have currently?
Nope.
Why?
No.
Why not?
Too narrow.
Okay, so radiology true crimes too narrow. True crimes with a focus in on the medical, the medical side, and radiology is one of those things, is a little bit more broad. So, hey, you're saying, look, we're going to look at true crimes, but we're going to look at through the eyes of a medical examiner and or a medical professional. That is totally different. And so there
Yeah.
might be a whole thing where you're like, hey, I'm going to prove it through radiology. And I'm like, okay, you could do that in like literally 10 seconds and say, oh, this is proven right here. And this is the reason why. And it's through radiology. And I'm like, I don't know if it has as much legs as, hey, you're painting the picture and it's more CSI and radiology might be a vein and there might be some other things. That's more interesting. So true crimes, really through the lens of someone that's analyzing the medical data, 1000% that would perform. I think you're probably a little too niche down when you need to take a couple steps back and go say, okay, it's true crime, but we're really focusing in on the medical details. And that is our value proposition. So that's the way I look at it. So
No, I think you're spot on there, Daryl, because the parallel to me is the initial videos, the first iteration of the channel was just used oil analysis.
yeah.
So it was too narrow. Now, when used oil analysis became a character, it was part of the tools, but we're looking broadly at motor oil. That's when it took off. I think you're spot on with that.
Power of trend analysis, used oil sampling, F1 technology for your car. You have 5,000 views on that one, and then you have 400,000 when it was more of a general, oil problem. When should you use Mobile One? 40. Whatever. So that's exactly right. Exactly right. So, radiology true crime, you are coming to VidSummit. Okay, I want to teach you from the stages at VidSummit. So I'm going to go ahead and reach out to our team, either myself on I would say X would probably be the easiest, or Instagram. I took a picture. My team will be looking for your email, and we're going to get you a ticket to VidSummit. So really excited for you to come on that one. There you go. And I think this is great advice by K and J Lumber. Tell stories of how radiology solve past crimes. That's great. I love that, but it's more. Tell them how medical has proved it. Like, I want to know DNA testing, because there's a lot of people that were convicted for crimes, and then 20 years later, they're they didn't do the crime because of DNA evidence, and so that's interesting too. So love that. Okay. Let's see. Milan Gaming, where's the companion course for FT or YT formula? Can't find it on the website anymore. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't handle my stuff. I have a team that does it. I know they were moving that over, so I'm going to literally find that out, and we'll get that activated. And then too, where who Justin Smith is, I would just ask Justin. But I'll make sure we can go from there. Okay, next one is coming in. We have our Swiss Doctor coming in as a super chat. What advice would you give someone with 250,000 subs and millions of views, but no earnings, on the verge of quitting YouTube?
Wow. I mean, that's a surprising scenario. Like, if you've got millions of views, then you've got to have an audience. I mean, so you've got to be able to connect them. I would say you need to find what can you provide to them as a product that would be valuable to them.
Yeah,
because they're showing up, and they're trusting you.
I'm very familiar with this channel. So just to give you some context, it's all in Arabic. and a lot of his content is distributed in Africa and other countries that don't have a lot of advertisers on it. So it's very,
Okay.
very low CPMs because there's no
Yeah.
competition on it. And so he gets a lot of views because the demand of the value of what he's providing. However, the advertising functions not as high.
Doesn't. Yeah.
But I would say look for a way to monetize your current audience in a way that would bring value that's very synergistic to your content. So one of the things that Lake did was he has an oil analysis company, and just because of the nature of it, people are going in deeper. So for you being a doctor that is giving natural advice around nature and so on around about nature healing type stuff, maybe there's something laterally they can buy for a few dollars that could
Yeah.
lead to an opportunity. So I would go that route. For me, it's like the reason why you started the channel was to help people. If that's the main reason, now let's figure out how to monetize. And that's what I would do for sure. So
Yeah. My wife on her channel, she has digital products. She makes patterns,
yeah,
and there are people that make a lot of money with digital products just selling patterns.
yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I love that. Let me pull in another question. This is a really good one right here. Tiffany's saying, what's your thoughts on the state of vlogging in 2025? It seems to have a resurgence. Can it work for if a creator is providing value, answering common avatar problems, or being relatable? What's your thoughts on that?
I think in my wife's
Okay.
space, there's a lot of people who are bloggers. And I guess there's been a lot of change in that. I know that when Google changed the search algorithm about a year ago, that caused a lot of stuff with that and really upended some things, some for good, some for bad, I guess. But yeah, I don't know that. That's outside my wheelhouse.
Yeah. So I'll answer it because it's not outside my wheelhouse. It's never gone out of style. It's always been a great way to bring value. I think the difference would be is how often that you're looking to connect with your audience. There was like in 2007 when YouTube started to share revenue. There's a lot of people that says, "Oh, I'm going to document my life and put it online," and so it was kind of like a reality TV show for people. And then it created this false facade of what reality is or what they're performing on camera. And so there was like some loss of that. Some families would coming in and showing some family things, and then it has some crazy family moments that have happened over a period of time. But I would say that the value's always there. The difference would be is what type of community do you want to create? What type of community do you want to support? Like it's a style of content. Like I know for a fact that Lake could actually start vlogging in one of his videos of saying, "Hey, I'm going over here and we're going to do this." And the community would love it. It would just be a style of video that he's able to go. Cause maybe they're doing some dyno testing and it would be really better, in a vlogging format than the format that he does in a studio. So like for me, it's just more the style. My whole thing would be what type of community is there. If it's like I vlog my life, I think you're going to need to do more than that because people, you might get some audience that loves to see it and they want to connect and they have that. However, to take it one notch up would be what is the other community that's around in that, and can you see examples? Is there a way that you can kind of look from there? So that's what I would do. I would say try to, if it's self-help, okay, vlogging works really well. Answering common questions that people have, vlogging works really well. Being more relatable, that works extremely well. But what's the relatability? Is it to help them with their mental health? Is it to have them connect on something that you love? I think you have to go a little bit deeper on that. So really, really great question. Another one, art channel tutorials also talk about art for neurodivergent people, how to make your life better. I also illustrate books and want people to buy books on Amazon. Should I start a next channel. Okay, a second channel. Yes, I would. I think what I like about Lake's ability is he's not saying buy my oil analysis or buy my stuff here. He's not doing that. It's just more bringing value, and then two, having it available where people that want to go deeper will go deeper. But if you want, to divert from your value proposition to another value proposition, you would be building a split audience. That would be very hard to do. I'm not going to lie, because if I only like these types of tutorial videos, and then you talk about art over here, then I'm like, maybe I only like the tutorials and I don't like the other. And then you're building two audiences. So I would naturally skip videos. You don't want that. You want people to want to watch every one of your videos. And so if you have different value proposition, I would probably do a different channel. So let's do one more. And then we'll give one more VidSummit password. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay. Bus Grease Monkey. Okay, there you go.
I like that
What
name.
steps would you take to raise AdSense revenue per video?
I have no idea how that works. So I just make videos and whatever happens, happens, right?
Okay. Yeah. I'll take this one. Look, we're always looking to increase our ads. Okay. Lake actually seen an increase of his ads, but he probably didn't know how it happened. Okay. Okay. And I want to teach you how the ad system works so you have an understanding. So if you start a brand new channel, you are the lowest tier of where YouTube's going to put ads, because you don't have any audience. They don't know who that is. And so when the ad fires, it's just going to a general type of audience, and there's no one bidding on their ad to be on your channel. Okay. Now, the moment that you start getting authority, and the first authority that usually YouTube looks at is certain types of people. So if you have like 65 plus females from the South, is more valuable than just 65 plus male and female. And the reason why it is from the South, because there might be advertisers that say, hey, I only want to be in Nashville, but I only want 65-year-old women watching my ads. And so YouTube would actually know, oh, hey, here's a channel that has videos that come out and videos that have come out that has that specific type of demographic. Okay. And you're going to naturally do that, because as soon as they start buying ads, it now is in an auction, and there might be somebody else that's trying to compete for the same ad dollars. And so before you know it, it rises that bid so that you can do it. Now, the other way, and this is where Lake was able, you can go back and look at your RPMs, CPMs, everything, which is, hey, I want people talking about automotive. Okay, great. That's a certain dollar amount. And then when it's more specialized automotive, it's like, oh no, I'm talking about oil. Hey, I might want to advertise to the people that want to know about oil, and I'm going on to that type of content. You're going to see a raise in CPMs. Now, where Lake is at is when he's gained enough authority in the space that someone says, I want to advertise on Lake Speed's channel, and I'm putting that in my ads. I know he has my audience, and I'm going to do this because he is going to do that. That's the moment that they're outbidding all this other stuff that's coming in, and that's when your RPMs raise. Now, the only way to go higher than that is when you're getting into Google Preferred. Okay, you cannot say, I want to go into Google Preferred. They'll say, okay, join the waiting list. No, they hand select certain types of channels, and it's not based on audience size. It's not based on views. It's based on diversity of their advertising portfolio. So their advertisers are looking for a specific type of content and viewers. And there's a few people on the call. I'm not going to call them out, but I know that they're a part of Google Preferred. And I know that they're getting anywhere between, $19 to sometimes $80 per 1,000 video views. Okay. It's a lot of freaking money when it comes to that. It's even higher on some of that, but I know where this person is. And so they're kind of within that range. And so ultimately YouTube isn't letting anyone advertise on it outside of their preferred list of advertisers that want to hit this main demographic. That's the easiest way to get in the highest ratio of of Google Preferred. And then two, Google Preferred has tiers. There's a top tier of Google Preferred. And that top tier is nuts. It's when an advertiser says, I want to buy my ad space on this creator and this message, and this is what I'm willing to pay. And Google and YouTube comes to that creator and says, hey, do you want it? If it is, it's this dollar amount. And so they're basically bidding, saying, yeah, I want it or not. And then that way they're the only ad that's being seen on that channel instead of having it be bid out. So that's the way it works. And I can tell you the highest CPM I've ever seen was $1,400 per thousand. And they were getting tens of thousands of views, but it's a very specialized product for a specialized viewer. And the average ticket item was $100 million. So it's like when you're buying a $100 million product, that's nothing. Like that's drop in the bucket, but you're talking to the right person because nobody else would want to watch that video. They don't even know what the heck you're talking about. And that's where it is. And I've heard of higher. I've heard of, $15,000 per thousand. But honestly, I haven't personally seen it. And I've just heard it third party. So like, that's the way it is. But here's the thing. I really do appreciate it. Bus Geek Monkey. Is that what it is? You are coming to VidSummit. You'll learn all about RPM, CPMs. We're going to do it. All you got to do is reach out to me on social media, more on X or Insta. Or my team can get your information, but we'll get you a ticket and you can save some money there because now you're coming. So first off, I really want to thank you, Lake, for coming on. Can't wait to hear your presentation at VidSummit, October 7th through the 9th. Any last words of wisdom? Like, is there any last thing that you would love to give them before we go?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this week. In preparation for this is like, kind of that channel jumpstart mentality of plan, execute, analyze, adjust. I realize that, a lot of these, we call it the banger ideas, that, it's your success is probably going to be 90% iteration, 10% inspiration. And where that inspiration really forms is from all the trial and error. That's where it comes from. There aren't just walk up, hit a home grand slam your first time at bat. You have to be committed to doing the hard work, the showing up and grinding. Eventually, you're going to hit that moment where it does kick off. But you got to iterate and you got to grind. But if you keep iterating and keep grinding, that it's going to click. I've seen it over and over again in so many things, not just on YouTube, but I have seen it on YouTube. But that's really the best advice I could give to anybody.
And I'd echo it. It's like my biggest joy in what I do here with the creator economy is seeing it when it clicks for creators. And there's a lot of you here that are my students that have gone through Channel Jumpstart and are crushing it. But my most fulfilling moment is what I call my father moment. It's like I'm proud of my students when they actually get it and it transforms their life in ways that they never even imagined. I knew it could happen for them if they would put in the hard work and put in the time, energy, and effort and really be focused, right? And believe it or not, the first thing that I do in Channel Jumpstart is we go through vision, mission, purpose, and goal setting. And the reason why I do that is because that's transformed my life. And it's the most valuable information that I could actually give someone in a mentorship, right? And so I need them to think big, dream big, but also create a plan for it. And then what they need to do is commit to do the system because the system works. I've seen it work in every niche, including motor oil. Okay. But be honest. Would you even imagine the type of money that you're making right now and the opportunity because of YouTube when you first started YouTube?
No, not at all. It's just, no. If you'd have told me, I'd have been like, yeah. But it's like, no, obviously when you live out one of these case studies and you're like, no, this is real.
Yeah.
And then you realize that the case studies aren't just cherry picked. That no, it happens every day.
Yeah.
Because people are doing this, because this is an incredible platform that can change your life in ways you can't even imagine. I mean, I just got to say it. Thank you for every one of my viewers that watches, like the people that show up and watch my videos. Thank you so much. And for the ones who've then gone on and bought oil analysis and have built this community of people who love tribology that didn't even know that existed 2 years ago, I am so thankful for every single person. It's great to see it, but it's also changed my life in ways I couldn't have imagined. So I'm just blessed and very thankful.
Well, I didn't tell you this either. Now that I invited you to be on stage at VidSummit, but I got to tell you the other thing. So I am rewriting the YouTube formula, not in the sense of the information. I want to change some case studies, and then also I want to address shorts and AI. But the formula is the formula. We still teach it today. It works. But brother, you're a case study. And so I'm like literally in the middle of it. You'll probably be in like 2 weeks that I'm going to be reaching out because your story needs to be told in a way that people need to see. Because like there's a lot of brands and also creators out there that should become their own brand. But the moment that you decided to become the motor oil geek and you became your own brand and you create that opportunity, I just can't wait for people to read about it, but also learn about it at VidSummit. So guys, thank you so much, Lake. I appreciate you coming on and for the wisdom.
No, listen, I learned a lot today too. So I appreciate you teaching again, right? I got to spend 2 hours with Daryl. I mean, that's very valuable. I'm just telling you right now.
There we go. Come on now. But thank you, everyone. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everybody.